now listening to the Lineman Lounge.
Where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
The Lineman Lounge.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Lineman Lounge coming to you live from Hangar 6. And it is a random Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's when we can fit it in. I always love to fit it in where I can.
I'm more of a, I don't know.
Not anymore.
This might get me in trouble, but I'm more of a force it in. Yeah, I'm not going to finish that statement.
Fair enough.
So coming to you guys on a Wednesday night. I had football practice earlier. It is late. You guys are probably not going to get to see this until Thursday at some time after I can edit. But we are here. We are excited. We had a huge weekend of NFL, college football, bets. There was a ton of shit that happened.
It was a fantastic football weekend. It
was very good.
Both through just parity in the NFL and a whole bunch of fun college football. You know, I really buckled down and watched a lot of college football on Saturday.
Nice.
So was really enjoying myself with that. So, we got a lot of good stuff to go over.
I had a really rough football weekend.
That's true.
So Ohio State, we're going to get into it, did not perform great. The Browns looked very good, couldn't finish the game. And it was very reminiscent of what happened on the 9U Colts team.
Okay.
We played the Marana Broncos. They're a good team. We're a very good team. And this was an absolute deadlock game, 0-0 at the end of regulation. Game goes into double overtime, and we finally end up losing 8-0 in double overtime. Very good game, but that is a tough way to lose a game, being in double overtime. 8-0. Like, you can't complain about the defense. Offense, we just could not get enough going and until the very end. So it's been a rough week of practice. We've kind of been drilling into the kids. The reason that we lost, and this is true, if any of our football players listen to this, the reason we lost that game is because we wore down at the end. They were able to outlast us.
So conditioning
has been a big emphasis at the start of the week.
You know, it's hotter up there
It is a little warmer.
than it is down here.
It was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen it, go check out the TikTok. There is a TikTok with some of the highlights from that game. It was hotter than fuck. I typically am pretty good. I don't.
Yeah, I saw you
use
walking
the
with the
towels.
rag
I
on
had
your head.
I had the rag on the head, all of that because I was dying. So those boys were in some rough conditions, but they were able to outlast us, and I kind of felt like that was a little bit of what happened to the Browns. Ohio State. We'll get into that. I'm gonna fucking let it rip on that in a little bit, but.
My flag football team, we suffered our first loss. It was, the team that we played was good. You have to have a minimum of 8 players out there on the field. We had 9 show up to the game. And it was also a little bit further north, not as far as you, but it was hot. It was 100 degrees, and I'm just used to seeing little kids have nothing but energy.
Yeah.
And they were beat by halftime. Our guys were beat.
The sun will take it out of you for sure.
But you're playing both sides of the ball every snap, and the team that we were playing had 16 kids. So I'm sitting there coaching the defense, and I'm looking over on the sideline, and their defense is all underneath the sunshade, getting water, huddled up, and they're going over a game plan on the whiteboard. So I was like, well, fuck. They're sending out fresh guys every time.
Yep.
And they've got a plan for every drive. And I was like, this is going to be rough. So I believe we lost by 2 touchdowns. We didn't get a single score. Our offensive coordinator, old Matt Coop.
I did hear some drama that happened on offense.
Yeah, he didn't almost get thrown out, but he was keeping it PG, but he was like, that's poop. That is poop. I
heard he wanted to possibly assault a coach on the other side of the sidelines.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for him and the actions that he was potentially going to take. But we actually had one drive that was pretty good, got us down to about 5 yards from the goal line, and play started. Our runner didn't get tackled or anything. The refs blew a whistle, but it was like one of those half whistles where they're kind of
inadvertent whistle.
I mean, the refs are like high school kids, and they seem to not always be sure of the rules. But like there was like a half whistle, and so some of the players like stopped, and we were like, keep going, keep going. So our guy ran it in. I mean, he still was being pursued and stuff like that, so it wasn't like it was just a walk in because
Right.
the other team wasn't paying attention. But the runner ran into the end zone with the ball. One of the refs like throws up the touchdown signal, and then the two of them go to start discussing. The other coach is like, yeah, there's no touchdown, there's no touchdown. And then the refs were signaling touchdown. And he's like, oh, that's crap. You guys blew the whistle, blah, 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 which I get.
Yeah.
They blew the whistle, and the play probably should have been dead, even if it was the ref's fault there. But him arguing with the refs made them reverse their call.
Of course. Because they're high
And-
school kids.
They bent the knee. They reversed the call. One of the league organizers was on our sideline. She's like, they shouldn't have done that because we were at that point getting smoked.
Right.
And our kids not only were physically beat, but you could tell that they're emotionally like nothing was going their way that day. So Matt started, arguing with the refs and the other coach, and then getting jaw jacking back and forth. And I get it because it wasn't about us scoring. It wasn't about us winning the game. We knew that wasn't going to happen at
Right.
that point. But emotionally for those kids to have some uplifting, some positive from it, and something to build off of is what we were hoping for. And what Matt was upset about, he's like, those kids have been working their asses off so fucking hard in this game. And then they just kind of got robbed because it was a defensive penalty that they called.
Oh, yeah. So then
So-
that's...
And they ended up calling some sort of a defensive penalty. I don't even know what, but it was like the play was going. If it was a pre-snap penalty or something like that, or an offsides, like, yeah, I get it, blow the whistle, call the play dead there.
Immediately, yeah.
But it wasn't like the play was running and they blew the whistle. So I don't even know what the penalty was because we never figured it out because they didn't end up like assessing the penalty. It was really weird. Like we just got the ball from where the runner had stopped when the whistle blew. It was a shit show. But either way, first loss. Understand why. It's flagged. There's still
gonna
things that we
happen.
need to clean up for sure. But first loss. It is what it is. I hope the kids have had a good week of practice. We're doing this podcast so late at night because I'm on a night shift. Mike's on a day shift.
Yep.
So I have not been able to go to the practices anymore. I've handed over defensive coordinator duties primarily to another one of our coworkers, and hopefully he's teaching them pretty well. But I'll be there for their game on Saturday, trying to get them another win.
We have our only home game of the season probably on Saturday. So I'm
Really?
very excited. Yeah. Most of our stuff is going to be traveling to Tucson, North Tucson, Phoenix.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's not great. But this weekend we get to stay home. Hopefully we'll go out there and beat the brakes off of Benson. Benson is an improving team, but we feel like we have a pretty good game plan. Not going to talk about any of that there, just in case anybody in Benson listens to this podcast. However,
Now, how did you
fully
feel
intend
about
to
your
beat
team before this game this game? Did you think that you had a good chance of beating them? I don't remember.
Yeah, so we felt pretty confident going in. We had a really good week of practice. They are a good team. Now, when we played them in the scrimmage, they absolutely dominated us. We knew that they were good. They did a lot of blitzing. We had prepared for that. We had put some things in. We had to shuffle some things around on the offensive line. Day of the game, one of our starters did not show up, so that's always tough, not having continuity. And then their ends were just killing our tackles, so that was a little different than what we were expecting. They blitzed us up, double A gap blitzes when we were playing them in the scrimmage. This time everything came off the edge, so we had to kind of make some adjustments, and then we just could not get enough going. We felt pretty confident, however. Did not get it done. It's tough. Double overtime loss is tough, but I think that the kids are starting to understand when you have any kind of lapse mentally, which is something that happened towards the end of the game, it can cost you a game. especially late in a game.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
they've been very much more engaged at practice. There's not really kind of any screwing around. Everybody's focused on football. We still have a couple of those kids that are like, "Hey, what time? When are we done?" Or "This is what I'm having for dinner." Like, "Hey, man, cool. I don't give a shit." I'm not saying that to them,
Right.
obviously, but
You're
we're here to
trying
play
to get
football.
them to focus.
Yeah,
on
we're here
the
to play
task
football.
at hand. Yep. So last time that you guys saw us on the pod, we had that breaking news about Gus Edwards.
We did.
It hurt me emotionally because of my fantasy team.
Yep.
But I had already picked up Latavius Murray for that fantasy team, expecting there to be that problem. And then I made the prediction on the show that Latavius Murray would be signed. 24 hours later, he was signed.
Yep.
If you haven't seen our little hype video about how we've been calling out some of these things that are going to happen or are happening in the NFL and maybe not being reported yet, that's out on the socials right now. Check that out. But we made some pretty good calls about predicting things in the future that were going to happen.
Yeah,
All right.
you had Le'Veon Bell going to the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
That was a home run. I called Cam being a distraction, but not being a distraction, him possibly being a distraction because he's on the sideline.
Right.
That was verbatim the quote that came out afterwards. And then you hammer Latavius Murray.
Yeah, that was on the spot. I figured he was the best opportunity.
Yep.
You know, you still had the possibility of Deontay Freeman, who had worked out for them. Adrian Peterson's out there in the market still. But even with some running back injuries that have happened in the past, week, 36, 48 hours, something like that, he still hasn't been picked up, which I think is a little bit interesting, maybe telling what the league thinks of him. But either way, if you're not listening to Lyman Lounge for some heads up info on these moving and changing, at least in the free agency aspect of the pod, you need to be listening in more because we're obviously kind of tapped into what's happening with those players, where they could be going. It could definitely benefit your fantasy team. Now, I'll say this. I did pick up Latavius Murray. I picked up Le'Veon Bell. I hedged my bets, and I dropped Gus Edwards to try to support my team a little bit. It didn't work out for me.
No,
I still had a loss. I played Brandon Ayuk, who didn't play in the game, didn't get a single touch. So, that really screwed me.
That's how I felt about my Sony Michel pickup.
Yeah.
Got one fucking carry for 2 yards.
Like I said, Darrell Henderson, I think people are sleeping on him a little bit as a lead back, and he.
I thought he would be the lead back. I never doubted that. I thought there would be a little bit of a timeshare, though.
Yeah, and it might just be because Sony Michel was a late addition and he needs a little bit of time. Same with Latavius Murray. He played a little bit.
He did. He got in the end zone.
Yeah, in his first time in there. But, I mean, it was, the Raiders won, which was our upset. And we'll talk more about the NFL later. But it wasn't like their best showing by any means. It was a little bit too close for my comfort.
Yeah.
We'll get into football picks for the NFL and how the games went and stuff like that a little bit later. We're going to start with the NCAA football.
We are.
But if you're looking for that hot fantasy info or some picks on who might be your guy to target in the waiver wire, things like that, based on some of the information that we've put out here, it's definitely a spot to listen into here in the Lyman Lounge. Get ahead of those in your league. And hopefully we can help you be successful in fantasy or just jaw-jacking with your friends and giving them a prediction and selling it off as your own. But
yeah,
NCAA
absolutely.
football.
Feel free to steal anything that we say. So we're going to start off with Ohio State because if I hold this any longer, I'm going to fucking explode.
Now, I'm drinking for your loss, just a little shooter along with the beer, and also because I just got off of work and I'm a little bit tired and stressed.
I understand.
So, sorry.
Cheers. No,
salute.
You're well. I enjoy it. I should probably pour myself a glass of scotch, but
penis.
I'm not quite in that kind of a mood. Ohio State was so bad on defense this weekend. Ohio State played a very good team in Oregon. Now, Oregon probably is a top 10 team. They were at 12 during the rankings. I think they are now up to 5. And they beat the brakes off of Ohio State.
Without Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, without Kayvon Thibodeau. And their linebacker.
Yep.
Who's probably a potential another late first or early second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot, for the life of us, figure out how to stop the fucking run.
Yeah, that's
We got gashed.
CJ Verdell had himself a great day.
Yeah, we got gashed. This is the second week in a row that we've been gashed. Now, I understand not having a ton of talent and not being able to stop the run. However, Ohio State is not that team that is devoid of talent. There is a fuck ton of talent on Ohio State's team. They are chock full of 4- and 5-star recruits. Those linebackers can play ball. What the problem is they are constantly put in really shitty positions by our defensive coordinator, Kerry Coombs. He cannot fucking call a defense. We sat in our base defense for over 3 quarters as they continued to gash us, run after run after run, and it was not until midway through the fourth quarter that we finally made a change and we got those couple stops. But at that point, when we get those couple stops, we're already so far fucking behind that we're trying to get back. We do finally get back within 7, and then a freshman quarterback makes a freshman quarterback mistake and throws a pick, and that's the end of the fucking game. I'm not blaming the loss on the freshman quarterback. Ooh, excuse me. This loss is on Kerry Coombs. The defensive coordinator needs to fucking go. I am not one to call for the firing of somebody very often. But I can sit there, not even look at the all-22, and I can tell you exactly what defense we're in. I guarantee you Oregon's quarterback can do the same. Everybody on that Oregon sideline knows what we're in because we've been running the same base fucking defense the entire game. They're going to pick us apart. You've got to make an adjustment, and that never fucking happened. The linebackers are constantly being put in a bad spot trying to play leverage on the run, but also if they play their run techniques, if they are going to give up the tight ends and the flats. There are ways to combat this. And if they sat back and they covered their zones, there was only 4 guys the defensive line had to make the stop, or the linebackers are so far out of position, there's no one there to stop the fucking run. It was so bad. Like, it was awful. He's got to go. Now, Coach Day has already said there are going to be changes on the defensive side of the ball, whether that is the personnel on the field, the alignments in which they are in, what defense is being called, or if it's a new defensive coordinator outright. He has not made that determination, but there are changes coming, and it fucking needs to happen as soon as possible.
So how often does it happen that coordinator changes happen midseason in college football? Because, like I said, I'm used to more of the NFL and not so much of the NCAA football as far as like those specific personnel moves. And in recent history, other than like head coach firings and stuff like that, USC, I am not tracking if coordinators really get the boot or that sort of action happens very much.
So it happens more in college than it will in the NFL. Now, granted, there are 1,000 more fucking teams in college.
Yeah.
So the likelihood
And
of it happening.
a lot more coaches available, I would say,
Yes.
probably because of how many teams there are and rotating coaching squads and stuff like that.
Now, there have already been changes elsewhere. I want to say it was Nebraska's offensive coordinator was let go. And so it does happen more often than you would think or than we see in the NFL. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that he is gone and that we are bringing in somebody else. We are elevating a linebacker coach or a DB coach or somebody else. This Ohio State team is very good about having kind of coaches on deck, bringing in young guys and then developing them as coaches as well. Brian Hartline is a guy who went to Ohio State as a wide receiver, is now the wide receiver coach, is one of the best fucking recruiters in the country when it comes to his position group. There's a reason that we get the guys
Hartline had a great niche in the NFL and stuff like that.
Hartline had a very nice little role carved out. He knew what he was. He was a possession guy, and he knows how to help guys get to the NFL. Mm-hmm. I guarantee there is somebody that we can get to come and do a similar job, have that similar path that Hartline is on. Now, does he get elevated to a defensive coordinator role? Probably not. But if you have a linebacker who's a Ohio State alum, you like him, you bring him in, he takes over a linebacker coach spot. Linebacker coach goes over into the defensive coordinator. My personal fucking pick would be our defensive line coach because we churn out edge rushers like it's our fucking job at Ohio State. That's the guy I want calling defense.
And I mean, part of that is recruiting. Like
Absolutely.
it's Ohio State. You're going to get the best guys, and that's going to usually translate into NFL talent.
Correct.
But yeah, you guys have had a slew of very, very good defensive ends coming out of your school.
Yeah.
And some of that isn't just recruiting, because you're getting 3-star guys that will go and become NFL first round picks and stuff like that in different places. It doesn't really matter. It's how they're developed.
Yeah, something has to change.
I would
so bad.
assume that this week they're playing Tulsa. Okay, and Tulsa's had 2 losses so far. They've played OK State and fuck if I know who this other team is. UCD. Concordia?
University of Concordia. I don't know where the fuck that.
UC Davis Aggies. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, UC Davis Aggies. Who the fuck is that? I honestly don't know. I'm sorry, UC Davis.
University of California, Davis. Come on now.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, Tulsa lost to them. Okay,
Yeah.
Tulsa should be a better school than that.
If Tulsa fucking scores on us, Kerry Coombs should be fired.
I mean, they could score.
No. What's
the line on the game? It was something ridiculous, like 52.
It might be 35. I don't know. Let me look. We'll get into more
It was kind
lines
of
and things
ridiculous,
like that later.
but I would think that this game is going to be telling of what happens with your defensive coordinator. Again, it's level of talent, but I mean, if they score once, twice, something like that, that might be where you start to question, okay, what the fuck are we doing here?
It's at 24.5 right now. Is the spread.
Okay. I thought it was something way more outlandish, but I'm sorry, I'm not into betting too much yet. I'm also feeling that whiskey shot that is took.
There you go.
I'm very hungry too, so it's.
So we're gonna get nice loosey goosey.
I could be very loosey goosey.
Perfect.
Hopefully, I don't say the F word that we're not supposed to say.
Yeah, agreed.
Because we're gonna talk about the Packers later.
Yeah, so if Tulsa can continue to run all over this Ohio State team, now I'm being very demonstrative right now. Okay, it's not typically something that I've done on the podcast too many times, but this is literally the pulse of what is happening on every social media outlet. If you're an Ohio State fan, people are calling for this man's head, and I do not fucking blame them. It has been atrocious the way this defense has performed.
Penis.
Excuse me.
Not COVID.
Not COVID. Not anymore. Oh, by the way, I had COVID. It was not great. I still can't, smell. However, it's been so fucking bad. It was so goddamn bad. They cannot, if we allow more than 50 yards rushing, there is a fucking massive problem, and he's got to go.
50 yards rushing, though.
50 yards to a Tulsa team that they should have to throw the ball a lot, right? Because we're going to be beating the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah, maybe. I could see 50 yards.
I mean, I could see 50 yards on the very first snap of the fucking game, the way the defense has performed.
I mean, I would think that the talent-to-talent comparison between Ohio State and Tulsa would
Now,
make a difference.
I don't want to disparage Tulsa. I'm sure Tulsa has some good players.
Yeah, we love you, Tulsa.
Yeah, but it's fucking Ohio State. This cannot
Fucking
happen
Ohio
anymore.
State. It is what it is. All right. Real quick, last time I talked about, maybe not the last time, I don't remember when the last time we talked about college football is, because my days are running all together. But Desmond Ridder, quarterback.
Yes, Cincinnati guy.
Yeah, so I actually watched that full game as well, just because I was like, okay, I'm a little bit invested in this guy now emotionally, and also I talked about him in the pod, so I have to watch the game. All right, it didn't look great in the first half. All right, it wasn't necessarily him. What I talked about before with his accuracy stuff, I saw that kind of coming to play in that first half. Now they were playing Murray State. Okay, not the best team. All right. I was expecting or hoping to see a little bit more of a blowout there in the beginning, and it wasn't the case. Ritter's numbers weren't that good, but it looked like they were running like an anemic offense for Cincinnati. I would have thought that they would have just like put the foot on their throats and gone. Now, Murray State's quarterback threw like 3 interceptions in the first half, so the score at like halftime was real close. It was like 14-7 or something like that, or 17-7. Not what you would have expected for Cincinnati, number 7 at the time, to be playing Murray State. All right. And Ritter hadn't done a whole lot. He had missed some throws due to those accuracy concerns. But again, it was like he's getting into the realm of the receiver. It was a little bit more Case Keenum-esque.
Okay. But wasn't that the comp that you kind of had for him to begin with? Was the Case comp?
Yes, but as far as his accuracy, yes. But he was a little bit more accurate in the stuff that I had seen, albeit there were cut-ups. All right. He finished the day 14-22, 2 touchdowns, 243 yards, and then he also ran for -4 yards because he didn't run. He did a couple like little boots out of the pocket, but the pocket was collapsing already. Look, Murray State actually their defense looked pretty good against the Bearcats, and I think that's more of a condemnation of the Bearcats than it is of Murray State, saying that Murray State's doing good.
Right.
All right. But at the end of the day, Bearcats did win 42-7. All right. The Bearcats defense looks pretty damn good. I'll say that. But Ritter, through that second half, looked way more polished, much better. They looked like they were running a reserved offense still, a little bit castrated. But I wouldn't say that he's a first-round guy at this point.
Okay.
Based on what I watched, I'm going to continue to watch and see what he does. But it's that he seems to do everything well, like his decision making, his ability to move in the pocket, his footwork, his arm talent is very good.
Okay.
I'm not going to say Josh Allen good as far as like strength and everything, but it's up there. I want to see more out of him before I'm going to say anything. But Desmond Ritter, story isn't written yet. We'll see what happens with him. I'm going to keep watching, let you guys know, because now I'm invested.
Now he's your guy you're going to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was a couple of other interesting things that happened in college football. Oklahoma won 76-0 against Western Carolina.
Mm-hmm. They got a big game coming up this weekend.
Who is Oklahoma playing this weekend? Oklahoma is
rivalry game.
No, they're playing. I mean, it is kind of a rivalry, but it won't be because it's Nebraska. Nebraska fucking sucks. Nebraska has.
They're just hyping the shit out of it on ESPN. Though.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big games. So Nebraska hasn't
driving.
Really gone back and played any of those Big 12 schools since they've left. So I think that's one of the things that they're trying to hype up. Clemson finally came out, scored some points. However, this is once again against South Carolina State, which is another slack 1AA team. Notre Dame barely fucking hangs on to beat Toledo again.
Yeah, I had that. So I've got my little notes here because, like I said, I watched a lot of college football, and I was sitting here just taking notes the whole time. I was like, all right, I'm talking about this. Notre Dame squeaked by Toledo, home of Kareem Hunt. And you called them overrated before, and I am on that bandwagon now.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
fucking overrated.
They didn't look great.
No, they don't ever look great. This Notre Dame is a big brand. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame is one of the biggest brands in all of college football.
Rudy.
Yeah, that movie is fucking bullshit, by the way.
What? All right.
So I'm not
your
saying
first big disagreement. I fucking love Rudy.
The movie is good. The story is bullshit. That is not the fucking way that the story goes down at all.
I don't even know what the story is in real life. All I care about is Rudy.
Yeah, so the movie, great. Rudy in real life, kind of a piece of shit, by the way. I'll let you I'll let you go ahead and take a look.
Look, Rudy is less about football at that point and more about just like emotions and how you can overcome. Right. And that's what I want to parlay into the team now. The Golden Domes.
Yeah.
But they are fucking overrated.
They're super fucking overrated, man. They barely squeak by Toledo. It's only a matter of time before somebody clips them. As soon as they play a decent team, they're fucking going down. Iowa, big win against Iowa State, 10-9. Where was that other game I wanted to talk about?
BYU upset Utah. Big rivalry game.
Huge rivalry. Utah is supposed
first
to
time
be,
since 2009 that BYU has beat Utah.
BYU soon to be part of the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. And now, what I wanted to bring this into, and maybe this is a little bit branching in between the NFL and college football, but BYU looked pretty good, and they held their own there with Utah. Now, Zach Wilson, your favorite quarterback in the draft this year, played with BYU. Do you think that his team actually lifted him up a little bit more?
Based on the way he fucking looked on Sunday, yes.
Well, I mean,
Okay, so his team did not do him any favor. We're gonna get into this. He did not look fucking good at all on Sunday.
I don't know why they don't have betting odds yet on Zach Wilson like dying from a concussion or.
He's gonna get the Joe Burrow from last year. He was.
We don't wish this on anyone
ever. No,
but
I
Zach
do
Wilson
is going to die.
and his 16-year-old body might get snapped in fucking half.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
We're gonna get there. He's so fucked.
But
The Jets
BYU,
are
I was
travesty.
super happy for BYU winning that game. The fans rushing, like, again, I don't watch as much college football as I should, but I got super invested in that game. I started watching around halftime, and it was real back and forth, and it was fun to watch. Seeing the fans rush the field after BYU wins, first time since 2009, it was fun to watch, definitely, and very happy for BYU. Go Mormons.
Yeah,
Or whatever their team name is.
Good for BYU. I mean, that's a big win. They're going to get ready to move into an actual Power 5 conference, so that probably bodes very well. That kind of shows that, hey, we can compete with some of these bigger schools. Maybe that gets them going on the right train in recruiting. So, very good win for BYU. A team that's getting ready to leave the Big 12. Another team that is almost always overrated, Texas. Got the shit beat out of them by Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. Number 15 at the time, Texas.
Yeah.
Got their poopy holes beaten in by Arkansas.
Bad.
Razorbacks.
21-40. Arkansas has not been good. They just fired, or they got rid of Brett Bielema, who came back and beat Nebraska earlier in the year, and they hired a new coach. I don't know his name because I'm not really following Arkansas all that much, but I might take a look because anytime a team goes in and beats the piss out of Texas, I'm all here for it because
It piques your attention a little bit.
Texas fucking sucks. Horns down, baby. I can't. This is another group of fans that drive me absolutely batshit crazy because they're just like the goddamn Cowboys.
I mean, it's the aura of Texas in general. They have a little bit of moxie about them.
No, they don't. They don't have him. Like if they had some moxie, they would have put up a fucking fight against Arkansas.
Yeah.
They did not perform.
They don't have the talent of Sam Ellinger there anymore.
Okay, so Texas has not recruited well, really at all, since they got rid of Mac Brown, who's out at North Carolina. They have been very down since then. Mac Brown wasn't winning enough for Texas. This is very much a Lions situation when they had Caldwell, who went 10-6. They fired him because that wasn't good enough. Mac Brown won fucking 10 games basically every year he was at Texas, but never got that national championship. Gets fired, and they have gone through a slew of fucking coaches that have not performed. Texas has not recruited. I'm so glad Texas has lost this game. They're going to drop them back down. I get to talk shit to my buddies. A lot of the guys I played football with in college were from Houston. Some of them are UT fans. So, horns down. Fuck you guys. This is hilarious. And then I also have my buddy, my roommate, my sophomore year, Ashton, Polish man. He's a Nebraska fan, and I have been loving ever since Nebraska's come over to the Big Ten because Ohio State beats the piss out of them every chance they get. Hopefully that continues to happen this year if Ohio State can turn things around. But those were the big highlights. Other than
Jackson State and
that's the one,
FSU.
yeah, that's the last one I
I was
wanted
gonna
to hit.
say you can't say that ain't a big highlight.
That so Florida State I thought was going to be improved. The way they played Notre Dame, I was like, man, this Florida State team might actually be
Overrated Notre Dame.
decent, an overrated Notre Dame team. But if Notre Dame is overrated, and Florida State barely lost,
We
thought
thought Notre Dame was overrated, but we weren't for sure. Now we are.
yeah, now we're pretty damn sure Notre Dame's overrated.
And that kind of made FSU look a little bit better,
Yeah.
obviously, because they lost to Jackson State.
That was the Jackson fucking State
Yeah.
or Jacksonville State, not even
Yeah,
Jackson.
excuse
State.
me, Jacksonville State. Sorry, Gamecocks.
Yeah, so that is it. Jackson or Jacksonville? What the fuck?
It's
team is it?
Jacksonville. Jackson State is Deion Sanders' team.
Oh yeah, Jackson State is Deion Sanders' team. Jacksonville State, which that sounds like a community college
Mm-hmm.
that kids from fucking your new team go to play for?
My new team.
Yeah, Bishop Sycamore, baby.
Oh, I thought you were trying to make
That
some
is
sort of
that
a
is
play.
where
Like,
Bishop Sycamore funnels their kids is in the Jacksonville State. That's what that sounds like.
yeah,
And Florida State could not pull it off. I
yeah. Not Jacksonville State should not have been in the game to begin with, but the fact that they just like fucking lob up this pass at the end of the game to win, like it was awesome.
And
Super happy for them. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's got to be like the highlight of their school's fucking history.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they have a lot of bigger wins than Florida State.
No, not at all. So that'll be fun for them. I don't know how they're gonna do the rest of the year. Florida State, man, that just a real chubby downer. That's fucking not cool for them.
No, it sucks, man. Like you're at Florida State, you expect to be on a good program. You expect it to. I mean, maybe you're not competing for ACC titles anymore, but you don't expect to lose to Jacksonville State.
Yeah. The only other real thing that I had for games going this weekend that really piqued my interest was USC number 14 losing to Stanford. Stanford. The trees, the fucking pine trees or
fucking
whatever the
mighty
fuck we
trees.
are. We're
Yeah.
my namesake, baby. But yeah, Stanford beats USC, and subsequently the coach is fired.
Yeah. I felt like that was a little bit of a quick trigger.
Yeah. But USC, I think they've been so used to being so good. And
Well, they haven't been good since they got their sanctions, though.
yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. A 42-28 loss to Stanford is not good. But that seems like a really USC thought that they had a team that was going to compete for the Pac-12 title. I mean, this one loss doesn't take them out of it. Now, Oregon looks like definitely the team to beat right now. That's a little bit of a homer, and actually watching them play a game, they look damn good, especially if they get healthy.
I think it just says a little bit too about David Shaw, head coach for Stanford.
I mean, he's a pro.
Yeah, he always seems to put out guys that will fight, even if they're not ranked or whatever. I mean, you see some really great talent come out of there.
Yeah.
They've been a little bit less noteworthy lately, but David Shaw, I mean, for him, I
His
think he
guys
should
are always
stick,
ready to play.
yeah, he should probably stick to college football because I think he's found a really good niche there. I think that he's gonna always. I mean, he keeps on getting looked at for the NFL, and that transition doesn't always go too well. So I would
No.
like to just see him stick it out,
Which
keep
we'll
doing what he's
probably
doing with
talk
Stanford.
about one of those transitions once we get to the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, but David Shaw, he could go to a big time program and probably do really well. Now, Stanford is a big time program, but they're not a national powerhouse. Teams that were national powerhouses that could really use a coach to pull them out of the dumps: a Nebraska, a Texas, Florida State. I mean, there's a lot of schools that he could probably go and recruit very well and get that team back up in the prominence. I just don't know if he's that guy. I think he likes Stanford, man. If he could get another guy,
That's my gut feeling, is that if he hasn't taken the jump to the NFL or any of the other schools since then, I feel like he's probably just going to stick with Stanford, and that's kind of his gig.
Yeah, and that absolutely not wrong with that. Stanford puts out some good fucking football players, and they have been competitive. They almost won a national title with Andrew Luck. So
Absolutely. So college football, we wrapped up there.
I'm good there, man.
All right. We'll move on to the NFL. So did we record since the Thursday game?
I don't think we did record since did we get one on Saturday? No.
We recorded before the Thursday game because that is when Gus Edwards fucking blew his knee out.
I think that was the last one, is when Gus Edwards blew his knee out.
So Thursday night game was actually a really exciting and fun game to watch. Buccaneers, Cowboys. Buccaneers eked out that win.
Yeah.
You don't give Brady the ball back with fucking time on the clock. It's just what you don't do.
Yeah,
It's like gotta be in the rule books for the NFL. If you give Brady the fucking ball back with time on the clock,
You're gonna
he's gonna
lose.
work some fucking magic and get them in position to score. So Buccaneers win 31-29. Pretty good showing by the Cowboys offense. Pretty bad showing by their defense, but pretty good showing by their offense.
Yeah.
And Lawrence broke his foot now for the Cowboys.
Yeah, that defense is gonna
it's
struggle
gonna
now.
hurt even more.
Yeah. That defense has not been good. I didn't expect them to be good. Dak looks fucking phenomenal, though,
Yep.
man.
I'm glad I picked him on my fantasy team. He looked real good.
The way he's able to still move inside the pocket in short space and then still extend plays and run. The first time he ran, I was like, oh, please, God, Dak, get fucking down.
Yeah, I felt a little worried watching that. But I mean, 42 of 58. I don't want to see him throwing that much, dude.
That's too many times.
He already had the arm issue, and we've talked about this before with their head coach. He likes to push their quarterbacks in the preseason and stuff like that and make them throw a lot, and that is going to wear a guy's fucking arm out. 58 yards. It was great for my fantasy team this week, even though we lost. But that's too many passes for a quarterback that is now playing in a 17-game fucking season.
Yes. A guy who struggled with the shoulder, like you said, a guy who has not thrown in a while, and then is also that is putting him at risk way too many times. I don't know how sound that fucking ankle is yet.
Yeah, we're
It
not
is
sure.
still a quick turnaround from where he was to where he is right now.
Yeah, because that thing fucking snapped like a motherfucker. But I'll say this. They're playing the Buccaneers, super high-powered offense.
Yeah.
I expected them to score more than 31, but it is a high-powered offense. The Cowboys knew that they needed to be on the gas the whole time, and so that's why they're passing a lot.
I expected them to run the ball to slow the fucking game down.
I would have liked to have seen that, but obviously it just was not fucking happening with Zeke.
No, Zeke.
And I was thinking this was going to be a turnaround year for Zeke. So I had the 6th pick in our fantasy draft, and I was sitting there debating Eckler or Zeke. And I watch Hard Knocks. The stories get you involved in everything. I was like, I think Zeke is going to have a turnaround year. And maybe he still does because they only gave him 11 carries. But 33 yards on 11 carries, that's not what you're seeing. And they probably turned away from the run because that Buccaneers defense hunted him down, no problem.
So
All right.
I have Tony Pollard in a couple of fantasy leagues because Tony Pollard's going to take over the backfield. He is far more explosive. Now, he's not as good in pass protection. Zeke is still amazing as a third down back. Will still catch it. Fantastic in pass protection. Tony Pollard has been a much more effective runner the last couple of years.
I think he is a better runner at this point. I don't know if I agree on him taking over the backfield this year, barring injury. But look, if this is just a down year for the Cowboys and they have a really rough go of it, there's going to be a little bit of a blow up. Jerry Jones just can't fucking help but do it. And I mean, Dak's going to be there for a little while. They got Zeke under contract.
Yeah, but Zeke
like,
is,
they-
I think,
they
about
would need
out of
to-
guaranteed money.
Yeah, Zeke was a very, very, very good running back, but he's just not showing it anymore. No. And whether that's a product of the offensive scheme or something like that, I'm not sure yet. But
listen, if
33 yards on 11 carries is not getting it done.
No. And we have seen this in the past. These running backs, they fight and they get these big-ass contracts. Mm-hmm. And then they don't perform. And then they get fucking cut. Le'Veon Bell. Todd Gurley. I worry about Derrick Henry having the same thing happen to him.
Look, I've brought this up
Zeke
before.
is in this same boat.
This is a passing league. Running backs is one of my favorite positions. I love watching teams get the shit run out of them, right? When you have a good running back just running all over another offense. But the fact of the matter is that in today's NFL, you can find good running backs outside of the first round, and these guys will perform on those rookie contracts for 4 years and look really good, and then they'll go out and they'll get these big money deals. But at 4 years, you are in the last half to last quarter of your career,
Yes.
generally as a running back. And paying those guys big usually doesn't work out. All right. Dalvin Cook. I love Dalvin Cook, and we just paid him big last year.
Yep.
And I think he's still got gas in the tank. I think he's more than one of those like 6-year backs. I think he's got at least a 10-year career.
Which is a very long fucking time for a running back.
Yeah, and I haven't seen him necessarily drop off, but like I'm so wary of giving running backs those big contracts because like more often than not, they do not play up to the potential of that contract.
No, and if the protection drops, they're gone. They're cut. They can't because they're not going to restructure. Like we've seen, guys are not doing restructures anymore, unless it is to keep together a core group of people. If it's you didn't perform to your contract, we want you to take less money. It's fuck you. No, I'm not going to take less money. I'm going to keep what you guys said that you were going to pay me.
And it's another conversation for another day, but like I feel bad for the running backs because again, I love running backs, but I mean these guys are the workhorses on these teams a lot of times, and they're playing for minimal dollars for their production over those first 3-4 years, and they are lucky to get their payday if they're one of those top backs, and then they don't have much of a career after that. So the guys that are not those elite players, they're getting even less money. These guys are having shortened NFL careers, and they are getting way less money for what they put out to a team. I don't have an answer to it. I wish there was a way that it's like, oh, if you draft a running back, it's a 2-year contract or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't, but that doesn't necessarily seem fair either, because you can't be dictating these things necessarily by position. It's just, it's rough.
Yeah.
It scares me when a running back gets that big contract. We're seeing it with Zeke, and yeah.
If you got kids and you want them to play football, you want them to have if they're a fantastic athlete, and you want them to have a long, successful career,
either be Frank Gore
don't fucking play running back.
or don't play running back.
Like straight, like I was a running back. I love the running back position. Nick Chubb is my favorite player. I fucking love Nick Chubb. He performed very good. He has continued to look very good. That contract is going to kick in next year. I'm not worried about seeing a drop off unless something crazy happens, which I'm not even gonna fucking put in the
We're not gonna
universe.
talk about it.
Not putting that in the universe. But they don't have long careers. You don't have to be drafted. You can be an undrafted guy, but even if you are an undrafted guy, you have to make your money quick.
Yep, James Robinson.
Yeah.
Undrafted guy.
Undrafted guy, he probably
Great.
signed a 3 to 4 year deal. He's not going to get a ton of money. He's not making hardly any money right now. So he's going to have to get his fucking
Or they need to
his
switch his
chickens in a
contracts
row.
to incentive laden, something like that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer, but we'll move on from Thursday night game
Okay.
because we got a lot of games to go
Yes, we
over.
do.
All right. Who you want to talk about next?
I watched the Seahawks-Colts game. It was an interesting game. It went a little bit like I thought it would. I don't want to spend too much time on this game. Carson didn't look bad, but Carson holds on to the ball entirely too fucking long.
He didn't look bad. He did not look good. He got wasn't a great stat line for him.
No, the stats were not great. I think that it had a little bit to do with not having any weapons. Also, he held onto the ball entirely too long.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was his downfall in Philly. He started holding on to the ball. He wasn't trusting his reads, his arm, and that very much showed itself again in this last game on a much improved Indianapolis offensive line. So he's still holding the ball too long. He's got to get that worked out if this team is going to be competitive.
And
Not having
some of
T.Y.
that might
Hilton
have been
doesn't
not
help
been
that.
practicing and stuff like that. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy's had his fucking foot fucked up for a while. So
Yeah. So, I mean, Carson didn't look terrible, didn't look great. And then the Seahawks are fucking so good.
yeah,
That-
like we said last week, Seahawks first half of the year, bet on them. They're a very good team.
Yep.
They are going to put up some numbers. and
Russell
definitely something
Wilson
to watch.
will drop a fucking rainbow right in a bucket anytime he wants. Jags Texans. So
We predicted the Jags.
Yeah.
We were wrong.
we were way wrong. The Texans played well. They found a way to use all three of their backs and use them effectively.
The Tyrod didn't look bad either.
Tyrod did not look bad. The only thing that really looked bad in this game was fucking Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
The,
I mean, Trevor Lawrence throwing 3 interceptions didn't look good.
no, it did not look good. He was under a lot of duress.
Yeah.
But that offense is not an Urban Meyer offense. I don't know what the fuck they're running. It looks so goddamn boring and bland. There is no innovation in that offense. I don't know if time has passed Urban by, but they looked fucking awful.
Yeah. Jacksonville, I think I thought Jacksonville was going to be a better team than what showed up on Sunday.
Yeah.
And maybe it's week 1 type thing, working things out, which I think, look, we had a lot of crazy games on Sunday, things that people were not predicting, us included.
Yeah.
A lot of our picks didn't necessarily work out. It was a really weird week 1. Maybe Urban's just getting used to the NFL game and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for him, but it was like Jacksonville just looked real bad.
They were
real
fucking
bad.
terrible. I thought that Houston was going to be the worst team in the NFL. It's now a toss-up between the Jags and the Giants, which we'll get to the Giants in a little bit because they look fucking terrible as well.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles smacked the fucking Falcons. I did pick the Eagles. I think you were on the Falcons.
Yeah, just because they were the home team, I didn't expect it to be this much of a blowout. But I mean, Eagles
Jalen
looked
Hurts
pretty
played
good.
really well.
I'll say this: like, I don't have any faith in the Eagles. I think they're a bottom 5 team as well, or not the Eagles. Excuse me, the Falcons. I think they're a bottom 5 team. But like, I gave them the edge because I don't think the Eagles are that great either, or I didn't. I think they're a little bit better than what I was giving them credit for before.
Devontae Smith looked fucking really, really sharp. Obviously, the worry with him is his slight frame. Is he
Yeah,
going to be able
that's.
to
I
hold
think.
up?
I think he's a baller for sure. I just don't know about if he's going to be able to hold up. That's been my biggest knock on him the whole time. But yeah, he definitely looked like he was ready to play NFL ball.
Yeah, the Eagles looked really good. I was not I picked them to win. I didn't think it was going to be fucking 32-6.
Yeah.
But good on them. And then Chargers, Washington. We were both on the Washington football team here, and that did not pan out. But it does not help when your starting quarterback goes down early in the game, and you're
With
back
a
up.
hip disagulation or whatever the fuck it was.
I mean,
Popped his hip.
He's
the-
an
the
old
femur of the
man.
hip.
What the fuck do you expect?
Yeah. And Taylor Heineke is Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
Look, he's a former Vikings backup, and I liked him as a Vikings backup because he gave it a little razzle dazzle. He's a fun quarterback to
He's a
watch. He's
backup.
not your starter.
He's a backup.
Yeah, he's a backup. So it's going to be rough for
So-
Washington. They got to figure that shit out because I mean, look,
Did
defense.
they put
helped-
him on IR? Did they put
I believe so. Because it's going to be a little while for him.
Cam?
Are Cam and Rivera good?
I think they're okay. I don't know if they have a great relationship, but I don't think it was tumultuous at the end. I think it had a lot to do with Cam being constantly injured. I could see a reunion.
That's not a bad look.
Yep.
That's not a bad look.
I mean, Cam needs a home. Washington needs a fucking starting quarterback.
Because look, Fitzpatrick isn't the long term answer. I don't think
No, he
Cam
never
would be.
was.
I don't think Cam would be the long term answer.
Yeah, but
and Taylor Heineke
Heineke's
is
not
not
either.
the long term answer. They don't have one there.
No.
This is they're waiting for a quarterback, whether it's free agency or
They're
draft.
gonna fucking do something in the draft this year. They have to, you'd think.
Yeah,
Unless
unless
they-
they're going for Aaron Rodgers or something like that. I mean, like I said, free agency. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, the quarterback situation to begin the year, it was just like we're going to hold a placeholder in here who can get the job done. But now that placeholder is not there. The defense still looked good. I mean, they held the Chargers to 20 points. But yeah, that's. I mean, I still think they're a really good team. I think they're really strong.
Yeah, I
I'm
still have a lot of
more
faith. I
worried.
think Washington still wins that division. In that weak ass NFC East.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think the Cowboys. I mean, Dak looked great, but that defense, I don't know if it'll hold up. I picked the Eagles, but I do not think the Eagles are a fucking playoff team out of the NFC East though might be 7-10.
You're not wrong.
So I mean, I think Washington.
It wasn't great last year, that's for
No.
damn sure. And the NFC East is looking like the NFC East of last year, possibly. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can see that. Sucks for Fitzpatrick. We all love Fitzpatrick here. I mean,
I
great
love
fucking
Fitzy.
beard, and he's got that fucking aura about him.
He's got so much fucking swag. Dude's got so much drip. I love him.
Yep.
He's so fucking cool. When I grow up, I want to be Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, we're not that far off, I guess.
No,
We're getting
I mean-
older. I feel like I'm fucking way younger than him, but I guess it's not that much.
No, he's only like 5 years older.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's 38, 39.
God damn. Yeah,
So,
I guess. Another game that we didn't pick correct.
No.
Bills and Steelers.
yeah, fuck, god damn it.
Yeah, how the fuck did that happen? Look, there was
Well,
a
'cause
lot
the,
of.
the fucking Bills couldn't play any goddamn offense.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking rough. Look, leading up to the game, there was a lot of pundits saying, like, people are sleeping on the Steelers. People are sleeping on the Steelers. I was like, yeah, maybe, but I just still don't see it.
That offense is not any good. It's still not any good.
Yeah.
They won on special teams. That is a Mike Tomlin coached team. They're very good on defense and they're good on fucking special teams. The fact that the Bills can put up more than 16 points with a potential MVP candidate in Josh Allen that everybody says should be an improved running game, one of the best wide receivers in the game. You're telling me that they couldn't put up more than 16 points? I don't
Allen
know.
only threw one touchdown. He did in 51 passes, but only got 270 yards. What was dink and dunk offense on this thing?
Yeah, I don't know what this fucking Bills offense was doing, but congratulations to the Steelers defense. Good job on special teams. Special teams can win you a game,
Yep,
and it will also fucking lose you a game, which we'll
We
get to
crow
later.
on this one with the Bills winning, or saying the Bills were going to win, and having the Steelers walk into Orchard Park
Yeah, but
and win.
nothing
and-
about the Steelers impressed me. Like, Najee did not look good at all.
Nope.
That offensive line is still atrocious. Their receivers, I mean, they still had their drop issues, but those guys can make explosive plays.
Yep.
They did not impress me. The Bills just really fucking disappointed me.
Yeah, it was one of those, like I said, weird week one. It was things where it's like you have, even watching the game, it's like a better team that just did not perform like we know that they can. It happened to several teams. All right, the Cardinals, Titans.
Did not fucking see that coming at all.
I expected that, like I said, the Titans were going to win, I believe, but that the Cardinals had super strong offense, and if they didn't put up a bunch of points, then I didn't know what the hell happened. And I expected that Cardinals would lose, but that it would be a close game. This really wasn't a close game. 38-13. Look, the Cardinals offense looked great.
Yeah.
All right.
You know who else looked really good? Their fucking defense and those young linebackers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those guys, their ability to shut down Derrick Henry was amazing. He did not get going at all. If that team cannot run the ball in Tennessee, they cannot play offense.
Yeah, look, I said it last week when talking about this game, about the Cardinals. I was like, if the Cardinals offense doesn't put up points, they need to be looking at their offensive coordinator and being like, what the fuck? Which is kind of Kingsbury or whatever, but still, like, they need to be like, what the fuck? Well, Cardinals came out and put out. Now it's reversed. It's the same thing. What the fuck is going on with the Titans? They should have put up points with all that star power that they had.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals defense just looked way better than I was expecting it would.
So the Cardinals defense looked really good. I don't know.
Chandler Jones.
It's a fucking monster. So TJ Watt got his big contract. We didn't get to talk about it. Massive, massive fucking deal. Entirely too much fucking money, in my opinion. I don't care how good he is. It's way too much to commit to a defensive
It's setting
end.
a huge precedent for defensive players, defensive ends, and stuff like that. It makes me a little bit more worried about the Neal's contract going into this next offseason.
You know who's going to get fucking paid? Chandler Jones. You know who won't be able to afford him? The Cardinals. He has been
Chandler
trying
Jones is
to get
older,
a new
though.
contract. He had 5 fucking sacks against him. Taylor Lewan's an all-pro, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. And I actually liked Luwan going out and being like, thanks, Chandler Jones. You whooped my ass
you
today.
beat
blah,
the
blah,
fuck
blah.
out of me.
Yeah. And I was like, thanks for showing me where I need to fix myself and blah, blah, blah. I've always liked Luwan.
Yeah,
but,
good dude.
Chandler Jones had his fucking day, dude. And it was pretty awesome to watch. I mean, like you said, going against Luwan, who's one of the better tackles out there, it's pretty incredible. But, I mean, as far as a payday for Chandler Jones, it's just his age now is going to hold him back from the contract.
Yeah. But
Like, he might get big per year
he's gonna
dollars,
get
but it's going to be a shorter
2,
deal
3 year.
Yeah.
No more than 3. Couldn't do more than 3. But I
if
could,
he keeps up on this pace.
no, but
I
you
mean,
give him 75 over.
you can't get 5 sacks every week. 'cause you're
75 over
putting up-
3. That's JJ Watt money or TJ Watt money.
Yeah,
I can see that deal.
maybe. If he keeps this
If he
production
keeps-
up,
I mean, he
then
almost
you
broke the
can't.
fucking sack record last year.
If you can't,
or
or
2
if
years
he keeps
ago.
this production up, you can't deny him that.
No. So yeah, the fucking Cardinals looked great. Their linebackers played really well. They stopped the run. I don't know if they're that good or if Tennessee just really was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
These week 1 games are always tough because we don't know who these teams are yet.
We have an idea, but we don't really know.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
would like to think that we know, but we don't know for sure. Cardinals looked fantastic. Niners, Lions. Niners were beating the fuck out of them. They took their foot off the gas. Let the Lions come back into the game. The Lions are. I think that the score does not accurately reflect the way that game went.
Yeah, it was entirely too close there at the end. Had me a little bit worried. Things of note: Trey Lance got his first touchdown already. I was not expecting to see him in this game already, like personally.
Yep, me either, but-
Trey Sermon didn't play. He
Which-
was a healthy bench.
What the
scares me because like I know you drafted him. I drafted him in
Yeah.
leagues. It's a little bit scary, but Raheem Mostert out for the year, getting surgery on his knee.
Yeah, so
the problem is that Elijah Mitchell,
Looked
who was
really
also a
good.
rookie, he looked pretty damn good.
Yeah.
The number one picked up guy in fantasy football leagues.
Yep.
Waiver wire activity today. Number one picked up player, and for good reason. He definitely looked good. The problem is that it's the Shanahan. Like you don't know who to trust. I'm gonna look this up. We had a quote from our resident 49ers fan
Joe
on the
Rockstar.
Lyman Lounge. I'll let you go on a little bit more about this, but yeah, he had a term
The
concerning the Shanahans.
shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Yeah, so the Niners, they looked fantastic to start the game, took the foot off the gas. Lions come back in. Mostert goes down. I cannot believe they didn't play Trey Sermon. I expect him to get some looks in the next game, especially with Mostert being out. The dual quarterback thing was very interesting to me. I like the way they incorporated him. I am interested to see how much more that package grows for Trey Lance going forward. I think it has the ability to kind of evolve and maybe see Trey Lance take over. It's instead of just, hey, Trey's our fucking guy, it's a little bit more of a passing of the torch. But I did not see anything out of the Lions that I wasn't expecting other than Jamal Williams getting a shitload of touches. I had him on my bench. Got 25 points, started Sony Michel, and he got me fucking 0.2.
Yep.
And I ended up losing.
Yeah. So with Mostert going down, I think that brings Sermon back into the fold. I don't know if he did something that people aren't like. I've been watching a lot of fantasy football stuff today, listening to it. Spent a lot of time at the gym today, just listening to fantasy stuff while I was working out. And there's a lot of confusion surrounding the whole Trey Sermon sitting, and no one really seems to know what happened other than there's reports that Elijah Mitchell in camp didn't necessarily look better than Sermon, but he looked very good. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised that he played well in this game. Trenton Cannon from Baltimore was on their practice squad. He did end up getting signed today to the 49ers. So that it doesn't have me worried. I think Sermon should be activated for this next game. But real quick, Joe Rockstar, this is his little post on the Lyman Lounge. So I want to introduce fantasy players to a term that I came up with back when Mike Shanahan was a head coach. Shanahanigans. Kyle is Sher's father's son, and the apple is rotting right next to the tree it fell from. They love their coaches. All right. Shanahanigans is what happens when you draft a player from a Shanahan-led team who should be a lock to not only start but get the majority of offensive use, but ends up leaving you to wonder if taking one of his best players on your roster is really worth the early Sunday morning headaches or finding a quick replacement before kickoff. Shanahanigans roll call. Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk, anyone? Trey Sermon, anyone? Bueller. And I felt that I have Trey Sermon on my team. I have Brandon Ayuk on my team. Yeah. All right. I had not planned on playing Trey Sermon anyways.
I didn't plan on playing Trey either.
He's my long game type of play. I want him to sit on my bench for a little while. Yep. But Ayuk, I definitely had in the starting lineup because I was expecting big things from him this year. Now, he had a little bit of a hamstring injury, leading up, and he was listed as questionable. But I still would have expected him to play. They said that, that it seemed more precautionary that he wasn't practicing stuff because of the hamstring. And then apparently they were like, yeah, we're just going to err on the side of caution. And nah. It fucked me.
Yeah.
It fucked me. Fucked me hard.
I don't.
Not in the way that I like.
No, yeah. I don't. Shanahan's a weird guy to figure out. Like, you never knew what back it was that week that was going to have the most touches. I can't believe Ayuk didn't really fucking touch the ball at all, which is insane to me. But I'm not surprised about the outcome of this game. So do we want to go into the Jets-Panthers before we talk about our games?
I say Jets-Panthers, then the Monday night game, and then we'll talk about our games. Save the worst for
Yeah. So Jets-Panthers. This game went the way we had predicted, with the Panthers winning. The Panthers came out, looked pretty good. Sam Darnold didn't look terrible, didn't look great, but led an efficient
He looked better
offense.
than he did with the Jets.
Yes. And Zach Wilson looked fucking awful. I know I got people who are giving me some hate on social. I don't really he looked fucking terrible. Now, is it all his fault? No. He is absolutely running for his life behind that fucking sieve of an offensive line.
Yeah.
But I
And
went
it's only
back.
going to get worse with Mekhi Becton going down.
Yeah, it's not getting any better. He is in trouble. He is going to get fucking hurt if they don't find a way to protect him, because they could not do it against a Panthers team that is a pretty decent front seven, but I don't think anybody's calling them a dominant front seven. He looked fucking terrible. I went back and I watched every single pass that Zach Wilson threw. He only completed 3 passes on an in-breaking route. Everything else was a screen or an out-breaking route, which I find very interesting because in-breaking routes take a lot of rhythm and a lot of timing to know where to go with the fucking ball. He held onto the ball way too long. He's got a hitch. He can't throw the in-breaking route. He has to immediately throw the out-breaking route. Every fucking thing that I have said about this kid, I saw it on Sunday. Throws the pick, the terrible pick across the middle. That ball is late. Across the middle on an in-breaking route. That's when you don't know where you're going with the ball, when you don't trust your eyes, when you don't put your fucking foot in the ground and let it rip. That's the shit that happens. That's the shit that I said was going to happen. It's not all on him, because that fucking offensive line did him absolutely no favors. But Zach Wilson had a fucking terrible day. I don't know how anybody who watched that game can say, oh yeah, he didn't look terrible in his rookie outing. Look at the passes that he completes. It's all screens and out-breaking routes, with the exception of some very late fucking in-breaking routes when coverage is way, way off.
Yeah.
It was
Jets overall didn't look very good. It's what we predicted. Like I said, it's just the bias of thinking that the Jets are not a good team, and they haven't been, even with the new head coach, even with new players. It's the Jets. It's gonna be rough for them. Like, there's upside talent and stuff there that I'd like to watch how they develop, but it's the Jets. It's the fucking Jets.
they're so bad. Like, and I feel bad for him. He had no time. He had to throw outs. Maybe he didn't have time to throw the in-breaking routes. Now, he threw a couple of really good hooks in the middle of the field when the defense is off, but he could not throw within rhythm.
Yeah.
The Jets are so fucked. I don't know what they're going to do on offense. They cannot depend on him to make every fucking play because he's running for his life. This entire game, he was running for his life like Mahomes was in the Super Bowl. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, talent-wise probably, at least in my opinion. And you saw how bad he struggled when he didn't have a fucking offensive line. Zach Wilson is not the caliber that Pat Mahomes is, and his offensive line is fucking worse. Mm-hmm. He is in deep, deep shit over there in New York.
Yep. Now, before we get to that Monday night game, one that almost slipped by me that I wanted to talk about,
Okay.
a game out in Jacksonville, New Orleans Saints and Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah. We almost did get by us.
Yeah, we can't fucking let that happen.
Yeah.
We can't let that happen on this show. New Orleans Saints beat the Green Bay Packers 38-3.
I did not call any of this. You said that the Saints would win in a close game. I don't think anybody predicted this. Like, I'm surprised we don't have the smoke and Jay memes of fucking Jay Cutler. It's not too far off from getting some smoke and Aaron memes.
Look,
where he just doesn't
I'm gonna
give
get
a
down.
fuck.
I'm gonna get down and real for a second. I've just been in a mental state for the past month where I've just not been super happy. And this is the one shining light that I've had for a little while, honestly. Like, if I'm just really down in the dumps, I keep on just looking back at the score, and I'm like, God damn it, I love it. All right, so big highlights from this game. Jordan Love goes in garbage time. Yes, it's garbage time. And throws for almost half the yards that Rodgers did through the rest of the fucking game. He's 15 for 28, 133 yards and 2 interceptions. He did not look like the Rodgers of old.
No.
The offense looked absolutely discombobulated. And my favorite little stat that keeps on popping up on my Facebook feed because I'm in a lot of fucking Packers haters group and a lot of Vikings groups is passer rating of a quarterback that hikes the ball and throws it directly into the dirt on every play is 39.6. Aaron Rodgers' passer rating from week 1, 32.8. Suck my dick, Aaron Rodgers. You look like a fucking meth head who likes to go steal catalytic converters off of vehicles in Milwaukee. I loved this game.
Yeah,
I picked up Jameis Winston like right before Sunday. I threw because Trey Sermon was listed as out. I was like, oh, okay, we've got an IR spot on our fantasy team. I'll throw Trey Sermon in there because it allows me to pick up one extra player this week. And I have slowly been building on Jameis Winston being all right. And so I picked him up and put him on my fantasy team. He was the number 2 most picked up player in fantasy leagues this week. And he was 14 for 20, 148 yards. So not a ton of yardage, but 5 touchdowns. 5 fucking touchdowns against the Packers, who don't have that great of a defense, but still, that was great for Jameis when normally he's known for throwing multiple interceptions, which he threw none of this game. He did very well with the ball. He ran a conservative offense in general, took care of the ball, which is his biggest knock, and led the Saints to absolutely dicking down the Packers. Loved it.
Yeah. Jameis played well. Didn't throw for a ton of yards. Didn't need to. Threw for 5 touchdowns. No picks. Alvin Kamara played well. The Packers looked completely disjointed. Aaron looked disinterested. So I've been back and forth. Is this a RELAX situation where it's Aaron just saying, everybody calm down. This is just
Or is it
one
an
fucking
SMD
game.
FTB situation?
Yeah, it might be a suck my dick from the back situation.
Yeah.
He did not look great. I don't know. No, nothing about the Packers looked good. They did not look like they wanted to be there. I don't know if that's all Aaron, if there's still some shit going on inside that organization, in that locker room. But if they don't fucking figure this out very quickly, this season's going off the rails, and Aaron is going to be either traded or he's going to find a way. He's going to have some sort of injury.
He'll retire or...
He's going to have an injury. Yeah. He's going to end up on the IR, and then they're going to see what they got in Jordan Love, and then everybody can we can move on amicably because Aaron got hurt, and that is something that could happen. But it was fucking awful.
Yeah. One other note that I wanted to bring up from this game, and this is more towards fantasy, is Tony Jones Jr. All right. I believe he's rostered over like roughly around 5% of rosters as of last week. He's the backup running back to Alvin Kamara on the Saints. All right. He 11 carries, 50 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. Looked pretty good. All right. He's taking over for Latavius. Latavius always had a decent share of work there in New Orleans. And last week, I'll eat crow on this, said they don't really have a replacement in tow. Tony Jones actually did look like a good replacement in tow. I looked a little bit more into him. He's looked good in preseason and everything for them, so it makes sense why they would be okay with him being the backup running back. Alvin Kamara, I still think that this offense right now is depleted of strong talent behind now Jameis and Alvin Kamara, and Mike Thomas is out. Callaway didn't have a great day receiving. But their tight end did. Juwan Johnson had a couple touchdowns. I mean, only 21 yards on 3 targets. But Tony Jones Jr., I think, is a good pickup as a lock behind Kamara, because if someone's going to get injured, I could see it being Alvin Kamara with how much the workload that he's going to be getting. And Tony Jones Jr., I think, could end up being like a top 15 back if he ends up having to be the starter. That's a little fantasy pickup for me.
Okay. Tony Jones. Take a look.
I picked him up.
Dolphins, Patriots. Yeah, I'm not going to pick him up in that league. I have enough guys in that league, I think. Dolphins, Patriots. Fucking good on the Dolphins. Mac Jones had a decent day. Nothing impressive. Their running backs fumbled a lot.
Yeah. But, I mean, Dolphins going to Foxborough and winning is still pretty good for them.
Yeah, good on the Dolphins.
Pretty big motivational boost for them.
It was kind of a fucking boring game, though.
Yeah. I mean, 17-16. Yeah, it was close at the end. And goddamn, if you listen to the audio, like I listened to that game. I was doing some errands, so I was listening to that game on the radio. The announcers fucking go nuts in that game over what was relatively a boring game. Yeah, it was a penis. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Gesundheit, not COVID.
No.
Yeah, boring. Oh fuck! Here we go again.
Bless you. Broncos, Giants. Broncos,
Goodness.
big win. Giants are fucking terrible. The Giants might be the worst team other than the Jags. At one point, they had two of their own offensive linemen fucking blocking each other.
Yeah, that's the meme that keeps going around that picture. That's pretty fucking funny.
That's terrible. I don't care what kind of stunt they run. You can't block your own fucking guy and let Von Miller loose.
Yeah.
Especially with Daniel Jones back there, because Daniel will fumble the goddamn ball. So good on the Broncos.
Hey, Sterling Shepard had himself a day. 7 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. He's not rostered in a ton of fantasy leagues, and I don't know why. He's actually been a pretty decent, like, number 2, number 3 wide receiver. Another fantasy tip, if he's available in your league, he might be something to look at, because right now the offense there in the Giants, it seems like until Saquon actually gets his legs back under him, pun intended, like, it's going to be a little more of a passing offense. Danny Dimes ain't the deal, but they still have receivers out there who can make some catches. Sterling Shepard showed out this week, so he's someone to watch out for.
Yeah, and then Rams beat the Bears. The Rams, we knew that was going to fucking happen. The Bears had better start Justin Fields fucking quickly.
Look, I mean, they put him in there a little bit, just like Lance did with
Yeah.
the 49ers. And in very, very limited action, Fields still looked good. He got a touchdown, I believe.
Yeah, he outperformed Andy Dalton in his very limited action.
Yeah. So I mean, that's been a lot of talk on the sports talk shows today and stuff on TV and everything. Again, listen to a lot of fantasy football stuff and a lot of football stuff in general while I was at the gym today. And a lot of the talk was, how long can the Bears really wait to put Fields in?
One more week.
Yeah, it's the time is coming.
Yeah.
And that okay, another fantasy tip. Maybe look to Fields
Hey.
to put him on your bench.
Got him already.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that game though. Right off the bat, Bears break a big run with Montgomery. I had an over on Montgomery of 50.5 yards. I had an anytime touchdown of Cooper Kupp, and I had the Rams covering in a nice little parlay that netted me just under $200. We'll get into some of those bets and stuff here in a little bit, but we're gonna have to take a break. We're at an hour and 17. This is the longest fucking camera's ever lasted. We are in the red though, and I don't want to stretch it too far. We'll give a quick charge. We'll come back. We'll do our games, the Monday night game, which I'm very excited to fucking talk about that as well. And then we'll finish this up. Cool.
Yep.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back. Had to take that quick break. I used the bathroom and then charge the camera a little bit. We're going to get right back into it. We're going to finish up these games. So we got our games, and then we have Monday night, and then we'll talk Thursday.
Yep.
And so
Silver Stan is here. I'm silvering up.
there you go. So we can go ahead. We'll start with the Browns. The Browns are a very good team. The Chiefs were
I'd say
better.
at least the first half or the majority of the game, like the Browns looked like they were the more dominant team. Like they, like I was expecting them to win the game based on the performance that I saw in the beginning of the game. I didn't get to watch the full game. I mean, I saw a little bit at the end and listened to a little bit of the latter half, but the Browns looked good. The Browns looked good.
Yeah, the Browns are a very good team. We're damn near a complete team. We have more talent than the Chiefs do. We should have won this game. We looked like the better team all the way up until about the last 7 minutes of the game. Couple things happened. Nick Chubb fumbling. That is a tough turnover. Nick's not known to fumble. I don't worry about Nick Chubb fumbling very often. That was a really inopportune time. But even after Nick fumbles, we go back. We score again. We'll go back up by 9. So that's good. Kansas City comes back, gets it back to within, I want to say, 2 points? 3 points again. We get the ball. We have to punt after a 3-and-out because they're starting to slow us down a little bit after the Browns have done basically anything they wanted on offense all day. Baker threw for over 300 yards. Nick Chubb ran in 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt ran in
Close to
another
the half,
touchdown.
I thought they were going to do that little razzle dazzle play and get in.
That shit almost worked.
Almost worked.
I was very nervous seeing Baker running his ass down the field to get the
Yeah.
ball. But then the play that now no one play loses you a game per se. It's a culmination of things.
There can be those times at the end of games which are really just tide turners or backbreakers.
Yeah, and we had one, and it was on special teams.
Yeah.
Jamie Gillian goes out for the only fucking time that day to punt the ball. We have not punted a single goddamn time all game. And he drops the fucking snap. Picks it up. Looks up. You can see this on film. And decides, fuck, I don't have enough room. I'm going to try to run and do some shit. Now, obviously, the NFL happens very quickly. Things come at you very fast. I was screaming at the TV for Jamie to kick the fucking ball because he had plenty of room to still kick the ball. Coach Stefanski has come out and said Jamie still should have kicked the ball. That doesn't happen. He gets tackled, and he gets tackled on their own 15-yard line, which immediately sets up the Chiefs to get the go-ahead score. Now the Browns are behind the 8 ball. They have to try to drive down the field. They are making a drive down the field at the end of the game to go win the game. Nobody gets open. Baker tries to roll out, tries to throw the ball out of bounds, gets his feet tripped up, does not get enough on the throw, and it goes right into the waiting arms of Kansas City's quarterback.
Yep, Mike Hilton.
Yeah, not Mike Hilton, is it?
Or it was
Sorensen?
Mike something. He was the Vikings cornerback. We traded him to him this offseason.
I don't know his name.
Mike Hughes. Excuse me.
Mike Hughes. Okay. So Baker was not trying to force that ball in there. So he's not making a bad decision. So would I have liked to see Baker throw that ball out of bounds a little sooner? Yeah. In hindsight, absolutely. Would I have also liked to see Baker just try to fucking take off and run? Yeah, absolutely. In hindsight,
Would you have liked to see the punter punt the ball?
I would have liked to see the fucking punter do his only goddamn job, the only
Now
opportunity
look,
he
I'll
had
say
that
this.
day.
I'll say this. When a punter gets off rhythm, or any of the kicker gets off rhythm, it just completely throws their game off. They do one thing,
Yes.
and when it goes off rhythm, it throws them for a loop. And not having the punt, it's
So
it all adds
you
up.
heard, if you guys watched the Monday night game, you hear him talking about the process, what the hell is the term that they use for special teams? Their operation. The operation, when you don't change anything in the operation, everything goes really smooth. You have the same long snapper, the same holder, the same kicker. The operation is fucking perfect, right? Well, when something gets thrown off in that operation, it can really derail special teams players. And that's exactly what happened. Did that one play lose us the game? No. Was it you could feel momentum swing 180 degrees in the opposite fucking direction, though. And they're in Arrowhead. They had the crowd quiet. They had Kansas City on the ropes. And then something like that, you let them right back in. They take the lead. Crowd is now back in it. It's a tough game. I think that we run into the Chiefs again.
Yeah,
And if we do, we are going to beat them.
it was playoff football in
It
week
was
one,
playoff
like we
football.
said in last week. It's playoff football. That was an awesome game between two powerhouse teams in the AFC, two teams that we absolutely expect to see deep runs into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I thought the Browns had that game up until just the shenanigans that happened at the end. I'm curious to get your thoughts on the ejection.
Okay, so it was when you look at the tape, you can tell that he is not standing on the player.
And
He
not,
is
and
trying
not intentionally,
Not intentionally. He's trying
which
to.
Romo tried to ensue in the
Yeah,
broadcast.
which
Wasn't
was-
happy about that.
No, which was fucking not right. You can see he's trying to lift his leg up off of him. He is trying to get out of the situation. He's trying to move, and then he's kind of trapped. And then Kansas City's coach comes in and decides he's going to put his hands on a fucking player, which absolutely should never happen He should have been ejected. He should be fined, suspended as the coach. And Ronnie Harrison reacts because this fucking person who should not be putting their hands on me has their fucking
It
hands
looked
on me.
like Harrison was getting away from the play, and he was getting away from the situation, we'll even say, and he was brought back into it.
Yeah.
Now,
His reaction is not ideal, and it led to his ejection. In the moment when you see a player shove a coach, he should be ejected. Should there be any suspension, any fine after you look at the tape and see exactly what the fuck happens? Absolutely not. Does it suck? God damn it. Does it suck losing your starting safety? We're fucking 5 plays into the game? Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we had worked really well for us was a 2-deep safety look basically all game until we got out of it late, and then they threw that fucking Hail Mary bomb to Tyreek, who came down with it. But if we have 2 starting caliber safeties, I don't know if we ever need to get out of that 2-deep safety look. We keep everything underneath, and maybe we hold on and win that game. It definitely is a blow. Should not be any kind of suspension afterward. In the moment, I could see why the ejection happened. Once you actually fucking look at what happens on the video, because I'm not sure the refs ever actually looked at the video.
I mean, so someone looked at the video because initially they didn't eject him.
Right.
It was one of those calls from New York, I believe was what they were saying on the
Well,
broadcast.
and that's the thing, is the fucking broadcast influences what is being seen and heard in New York.
Yeah. So my take is, yeah, that is an ejectable offense. I saw it coming. But the replays told the story. He was getting up from the play. He was going away, and the coach pushed him. And look, when you are in that, you're ready to see red because you're playing football, and that happens, it triggers something.
Yeah.
And so his reaction is natural, completely expected. Harrison's.
Yes.
All right. The coach to have gotten involved in that was inappropriate in the first place.
100%.
So drink.
Yeah. It's just,
I understood the ejection. Harrison shouldn't have done that. I understand why he did. I probably wouldn't have been able to do anything different. I grew up. My dad told me, is like, don't be the don't wait for the other guy to throw the punch. Be the one to throw the first punch, because when it everyone's like, oh, you should wait back and take that. Don't be the first one.
Fuck
Look,
that.
if it's going down, it's going down, and it's not about am I the better guy or not. You're there to win at that point.
Yeah,
and that's
I'm in the same mantra. I know a lot of people probably don't like that.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're gonna do some shit and that you think that you might get hit for, I will just fucking hit you. Like,
Yeah. It's like you said, people might not agree with it, but like, I'm one of those strike first, strike nasty, don't give a fuck. If it's going down, it's going down, and I'm going to do what I need to do to win right now. So if I'm in his position and I have that aggression towards me, yeah, I'm gonna react. And it's not like he decked the coach or anything like that. He definitely went at him and pushed him.
He pushed him.
But then he, held back to some extent, and he was getting pulled back and everything. Either way, Harrison ejection. Understand why it happened. The coach, I don't know. So far, I've seen the Browns still backing Harrison on this,
100%,
which is good.
And that will not change with Stefanski one bit.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that. The Chiefs coach should have repercussions. I don't see how the league could not say that there should be repercussions. The team should just come out and say, hey,
Listen, we've internally
repercussions.
taken a look and suspended and get out in front of it.
Yeah. But it seems like the Chiefs are also backing their guy. There's a little bit of consternation.
You have to have
between the two fan bases.
You gotta kind of have to fucking back your guy.
Yeah.
I get it. But their guy was fucking definitely wrong. Right. Harrison wasn't doing anything wrong, especially when you take a look at it. But yeah, tough game. I cannot wait to play the Chiefs again. Hopefully it's in the AFC Championship with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I think that would be a fantastic fucking opportunity to play them again. Apparently there was a clip that came out on like the NFL clips or NFL shorts or some shit like that, where you can hear Pat saying to Baker, hey man, we'll see you guys again later in the year.
Yeah.
So
So I guess moving on to my game, Bengals Vikings. Bengals win in overtime 27-24. So
Yep. And I'm so excited to hear your take on how the game went before I piss you off with how it ended.
sure. So the Vikings deserved to lose this game. I posted out on social about this. I was heated. I hate blaming the refs. I don't like blaming the refs because, like you alluded to earlier, it's not one play that makes the game. But I also brought up that there are some times where singular plays turn the tide of a game, and can affect. It happens at the end of these games where calls by the refs and officiators will screw other teams. Okay, we saw that with the Saints, a couple years ago on that PI call, right?
Yeah.
In this game, I believe that happened. I believe that there were 2 challenged calls in this game that were both called wrong. And it's not just me saying this. This is nationally, as far as sports commentators and stuff like that. Like the broadcast on both of the calls said that the Vikings should. So first call, Justin Jefferson, touchdown. He was going across the line. They said that he was down beforehand. We challenged. They apparently did not have a goal line view, and the other view showed that his butt was hovering across the ground, and it looked like his butt was over top of the end zone line with his upper body across, which had the ball, and they did not call it a touchdown. Now, we ended up running it in for a touchdown the next play, so no harm, no foul, except for I was playing a guy with Dalvin Cook this week, so that kind of hurt me a little bit. But that was upsetting. Again, not the end of the game there.
Yeah. Somehow he was down on that play.
Yeah, but then we have in overtime, Dalvin Cook is called for a fumble. So as the play goes, before replay or anything, it looks like Dalvin Cook is down, and then the Bengals come up and say they had the ball. All right, the refs at that point are talking. They haven't said who has the ball, and then they end up saying Bengals had the ball. So call on the field ends up being well after the play that Bengals come up with the ball. That's the part that sucks because
now you have to have indisputable evidence to
indisputable
overturn it.
evidence. All right. So in the replays, there are certain angles that definitely look like Dalvin Cook is down with his backside on the ground and the ball still in his hand. Now, still shots don't tell the full story because the ball could be moving around. So you can't just take a picture and say, okay,
Right.
his butt's down. But the video definitely looked like he was on the ground with the ball still in possession, and then it was ripped out. All right. And they ended up sending it to New York because it's overtime. It wasn't a coach reviewable play. It went to New York or whoever the sky judge is or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And they said there's not enough evidence to overturn, so they had to go with the call on the field. All right. And at that point, again, you could feel how the team was deflated at that point. All right. And then Bengals end up going down the field, getting in field goal range, and their rookie kicker is able to put one through the uprights, put them ahead 24-20 or 27-24. All right. I hate having games decided on officiating. All right. Yes, the Vikings could have stopped the Bengals' drive after they got the ball, and they should have because it came down to a 4th down play. Joe Burrow checks out and throws a ball to CJ Uzomah, which gets them within field goal range. And that, again, the Vikings should have stopped that play, and it shouldn't have allowed them to win, or they could have prevented them from winning the game. But that play, I feel like, was the nail in the coffin. At that point, I knew the game was over because that call was deflating. It fucked up the rhythm. I mean, we were in field goal range at that point when the fumble happened.
Right.
It was really disappointing. But again, going back to what I originally said, I believe that the Vikings should have lost this game. All right. I still question the officiating throughout the game because there was a lot of penalties called on the Vikings, and rightfully so on a lot of them. But the same things were happening. There was, I believe, 12 accepted penalties on the Vikings offensive line, or 9 or something like that. It was an egregious amount on the offensive line. And the offensive line did not look great through that game. if you don't look at the penalties from the offensive line, they actually performed average, which is what I was hoping for. Despite bad play from our center, Garrett Bradbury, and below average to kind of bad play from Rashad Hill, our substitute left tackle right now. But Cousins was not getting the ball out quick enough. There was a lot of pressure from the Bengals defense. Again, another one of those eat crow situations. We had Kyle Kimmel write in last week, asked us if the acquisitions by the Bengals would increase their defense or make them better. And we said, no, we don't think so. The Bengals defense did look better.
A little bit better.
I was not expecting Trey Hendrickson to be as good as he was, but he looked pretty good. He was getting lots of pressure. And we ended up having to go away from what we are as being a running team a lot. We had to get away from that to keep ourselves in the game. The fact that we were able to take this game to overtime gives me a little bit of hope, all right? Because we didn't look good. We had a lot of penalties, and we still were able to stay neck and neck with the Bengals until the end of the game and send it to overtime. So that's my little glimmer of hope right now, and I hope that we correct these issues. But the penalties just fucking kill us. Kirk holding on to the ball fucking kill us. The defense, I was happy with how they played, but Burrow looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, Burrow did look good.
All right. Jamar wasn't dropping passes.
No, Jamar caught a beautiful fucking ball, caught a touchdown. So obviously the officiating in this game was very tough. You've kind of gone through and talked about the fumble. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, obviously in that situation, that's it's a tough spot. But does that lose you the game? You've already gone through that. That one play doesn't lose you the game. It just swings momentum. One of the other things I really wanted to ask you, though, was what do you make of Zimmer's comments about Kirk and his performance? Is this the sign that there's a potential change coming, that there is no faith in Kirk Cousins? Where is your level of trust in Kirk Cousins at this point? Because early in this game, basically all through the entire first half, he looked not very good.
Yeah, Kirk hasn't looked good through the preseason. Zimmer did have those comments at halftime that he felt like the offensive production or lack thereof was heavily leaned on Kirk holding on to the ball too much. And that's the thing that I love about Zimmer is that he's not one to hold back. Even if it's things that people don't like to hear. And that's the type of guy that I am. I like it when coaches and people are direct, because if they're wrong, then there's a conversation. But he's right with most of these things. Kirk was holding on to the ball far too long. Yep. And maybe that's a product of, Zimmer actually said that he was fine with the offensive play calling, but we have a new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, Gary's son. And maybe Clint wasn't calling plays with short enough drops. Like we were doing 7-step drops, which we haven't done in a long time. And with our offensive line situation, we shouldn't be doing too much. There's been a underlying kind of narrative since Kirk was brought in that Zimmer was not behind bringing Kirk in. That was actually something that Everson got in a little hot water for in some of his tweets. Was saying like Kirk was never the guy and blah, blah, blah. He's shit. And Zim, asked Zim who he wanted. That sort of thing, because I think Zim was pulling to keep Case Keenum there and Teddy.
Yeah.
All right. This is probably make or break year for Zim. I am a huge fan of Mike Zimmer. I understand why we might have to consider a change, though, if the season doesn't go well. It'll make me really sad to see him go, and I always hate kind of the situation of bringing in a new coach, especially if it's not someone that's more established or someone that you can really get behind. I was so behind bringing Zimmer in. He's the guy I wanted when we were interviewing people. It'll be interesting to see how this works out. Now, we have a super tough matchup this week in Arizona versus the Cardinals, who obviously played really well against the Titans. Hopefully they're feeling all good about themselves and we can actually give them a run for their money, because I think that we're a pretty good team. Like I said, we're able to play like shit and have all these penalties and still somehow take this game into overtime. Hopefully we can actually start to get some things to click a little bit better and play better this week. I don't think we're going to have a quarterback change because Kellen Mond's the backup. I don't think we're going to have a head coach change because typically when we have a solid, cemented starting head coach on the team, the Will family isn't one to move on them in the middle of the year when
That
we've
must
had
be
more
really
shaky
nice.
situations. They have like we fired Childress, brought in Leslie Frazier from the defensive side to coach the rest of that year. I was never a huge Childress fan, and I don't think he was the long-term answer. The Wilfs were already kind of looking at cutting him. I don't know that that's the case necessarily for Zimmer right now. I think that we'll finish out the year with Zimmer. But if it's bad, then yeah, there's definitely going to be questions as to.
Is it Zimmer that's going, or is it Kirk? All right. Yeah, technical difficulty. We tried to rush to get this thing fucking done, and didn't let the camera charge long enough. So we're gonna rifle through these last couple games, get this thing knocked out, because it is late as fuck, and I am super tired and need to go to bed because I got to fly tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So what you were saying before the camera cut out is there going to be a quarterback change potentially next year? I would say no. Kirk Cousins' contract doesn't allow us to really move him. He's tethered to us for at least next season, whether that's backup or whatever. And my fear is that we actually will continue to do these little like 2-3 year extensions with him until we find a replacement through the draft, or if they think that they actually have a really good shot at bringing in someone else from free agency, which I don't like to bank on personally. So Cousins to stay, Zimmer and Spielman, their future, the GM Spielman, their future is kind of tied together. This the fate of this season will determine what ends up happening with them next year. Monday night.
Yeah, let's get into Monday night. Monday night, we fucking called it. Raiders were able to pull off the upset and beat the Ravens.
It's a close game, closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so it was a close game.
The Raiders, so they, like I said, closer game than it should have been. Derek Carr, I think, is kind of the bigger problem on that team right now, at least in this game. There was two extremely obvious plays in the first half where he had Waller or other receivers wide open way down the field, and he didn't see them. You could hear the fans cheering because they saw this receiver break wide the fuck open because the defensive backs weren't paying attention, and Derek Carr did not hit them. He went to checkdowns or other receivers. Those were two like guaranteed touchdowns that they did not come through with that would have put them way ahead in this game. But at the end of the day, it almost seems like the Raiders beat themselves. And that's like, I thought the Raiders were not going to be as good as they were. And like I said, I feel like it was their undoing that, or their
The Ravens,
fault.
though, not the Raiders.
The Ravens, the Ravers.
Yeah. So Derek Carr did miss some throws. I like Derek Carr. I think he's a mid-tier quarterback. At one point, he was looked at as almost an MVP. He was having an MVP season until he broke his leg. He has not been the same guy since that has happened, but he is still a very serviceable quarterback.
Yep.
The Ravens don't have enough weapons. Sammy Watkins looked okay. Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews. And Lamar can still do Lamar things. But people are starting to figure out how to beat Lamar. Max Crosby is an absolute fucking stud.
Yeah, I love Max Crosby. 2 X's.
Yes. Was able to keep him in the pocket, harassed him all game. Lamar fumbled multiple occasions. And that was ultimately their undoing. Now, the Raiders tried to fucking give this game away at the end. They had the touchdown called that won the game. That touchdown gets called back, half yard short. QB sneak doesn't get in. It looks like they're going to QB sneak again. Right tackle fucking false starts. And now they got to back up. Fuck. Then Card goes back. Next down. Throws it right through fucking, I think, Still's hands off the face mask of the defender into the waiting arms of a defender in the end zone. They had the win. They were really excited. Everybody's on the field. Then they get deflated. Fucking turn the ball over, and they find a way. Defense finds a way to get that stop, get on the field. They run one play, get in field goal range, and Gruden's like, all right, fuck it. We're kicking the field goal right now. We're winning the game. But they trot him out there way too late, so they ended up taking a delay of game penalty, backs them up, and then instead of kicking the field goal, he trots his offense back out on the fucking field, thinking that they're going to run it to get him closer again. And Derek Carr just drops back and drops a fucking bomb to Zay Jones. The entire sequence was insane. It looked like Gruden was
They were
going to
saying-
throw this fucking game away, but they were able to pull it off.
Yeah, the field goal, I guess, the initial not getting the field goal team out there, they couldn't find the kicker. Apparently, the kicker was not ready to go. They didn't have him prepped, ready to go. Like, he was just off to the side practicing or something like that, and they, like, couldn't find him when they were calling for the kick team. So that's what ended up leading to that.
You have one job.
Yeah.
How are you not ready to kick the fucking field goal?
I mean, I get if he's on the sideline practicing or something like that, and he should have a guy. Like, that's a team failure. They should have a guy that is, like, got him on a leash, and then as soon as they call for kicking team, they're fucking yanking him out there. Obviously, it didn't happen. I'm sure Gruden is going to get that fixed because, obviously, Chucky's going to be angry about how that could have gone, but obviously it worked out for the Raiders. They end up getting that touchdown. They get the win. We get some money.
I made a bunch of fucking money off of that. I performed very well in my gambling stuff. I posted a couple pictures on the socials, kind of showing where I started. Put in $125 throughout both websites that I'm on. Caesars that we talked about, and then FanDuel. They also had a couple of fucking deals. I was like, well, I'll hop on there, toss $25 in. So I performed well, $125. I put in, sitting around almost $800 now. So very good weekend. So we're going to do another one of these on Saturday.
Yep.
We'll give some more bets. We'll give some more predictions. If you guys like making money and you want to bet along with the show, tune in on Saturday. We'll give you some more bets.
One quick thing I want to say about the running back situation there with Baltimore. So Latavius Murray did play some. He had 10 rushes for 28 yards, so nothing spectacular there. But he did get a touchdown.
He did.
And that was with just a couple days of practice. So I expect his workload to increase as the year goes along. However, I will say this. Tyson Williams actually had himself a good game. Now, they only gave the ball to him 9 times, and I think that was also a failure by the Ravens. They spread the workload around. Trenton Cannon was now part of the 49ers, but he was in the game. He got a couple rushes. Latavius Murray got 10, so more than Tyson Williams. But Tyson Williams looked good when he was out there.
He did.
And obviously he has the familiarity with the team and everything. 9 runs. He still got 65 yards and a touchdown. So if he's available in a fantasy football league for you, I think that he's someone that you could consider picking up because Latavius Murray, I don't know if he's actually going to take over the lead back role in that team. He could, but I think based on them having Tyson
He's going to
Williams
be their
and him
goal
being
line
rostered,
package guy.
yeah, Tyson Williams actually, it'll by the end of the year could be much closer to a 50-50 split between the two of them, but he's the more dynamic back, the guy that's a little bit more exciting, might get you more fantasy
Now, I
points.
wonder if Le'Veon or Devontae Freeman, who are now on their practice squads, are going to continue to stay on their practice squads, or if they're starting to maybe think about moving one of those guys off, open that spot up for another younger guy.
With
that they
Trenton
need some
Cannon
guys.
being picked up by the 49ers, one of those two guys is going to be active on game day, Devonta Freeman or Le'Veon Bell. I think that Devonta Freeman is washed up, has been for a while. Le'Veon Bell still has a little bit more in the tank, albeit he's your boomer bust guy. I think that Le'Veon Bell will be the one that ends up getting elevated on game day, possibly sticking on the 53, but I don't know that he has as much of an impact unless, like we were talking about before, like if he starts to show some of the characteristics that he did when he was a baller in the league, then yeah, we could see some out of Le'Veon Bell. And at that point, if Le'Veon Bell actually reaches that potential, then he could absolutely take over the number 1 back role.
All right, cool. So let's preview Thursday's game. By the time you guys are seeing this, hopefully this gets out before the game starts. We got the Washington football team versus the New York football Giants. I got Washington in this game. I've already got a couple of bets placed. I think Washington bounces back after a tough loss to the Chargers. The Giants look fucking terrible. We already talked about they're 2 of their own fucking offensive linemen blocking each other. That's not going to bode well against this Washington front 7. That is a dominant defensive line. I got Washington by a lot. I think they cover the spread.
I think they cover the spread too. I don't know if I have Washington by a lot, but I do have Washington winning. The linchpin for this is Heineke. It's Heineke now because it's his show. Now, hopefully with a week of preparation, being the starter and the team being pissed that they lost their first game and that it was not as big of a win as it could have been against the Chargers, they or as big of a they should have put up more against the Chargers overall. because the Chargers' pass defense looked fucking phenomenal when they were playing against Heineke. Look, if Heineke performs average, Washington wins this game, no problem, I think. Giants just aren't there. And I think that with this, not obviously a full week of preparation, but with, the preparation of him being the starter, I think that they'll have plays and everything installed for him, and that Rivera will get this team fired up where they're going to be able to go to FedEx Field and show up and, like I said, beat the spread, win this game. It should be Washington's game.
Yeah, I don't see any reason Washington doesn't win this game. If they don't, they are in trouble. And now, granted, this is an NFC East divisional game. This game matters twice as much as any other game. So maybe the Giants try to right the ship. I'm not a big believer in Joe Judge. We all know that I'm not a big believer in Danny Dimes. Saquon is still coming back from an injury. I like Saquon. I think he is overrated, but I like Saquon. Is he ready? Can he really carry this Giants team past the Washington team? I don't see it. But if Heineke plays like fucking dog shit, then it's anybody's guess what could happen.
Yeah, and Heineke's had some good games, and last year he had some good games. This week he didn't do phenomenal, but I mean he wasn't expecting to be out there playing. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt there. Give me Washington beating the spread.
All right. So that wraps it up. We don't have much time. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted. I got to be to work in fucking like 7 hours. So I'm I have to be awake in 7 hours. But I'm not one of those people that falls asleep in 3 minutes, even though I'd love to be. Let's get the fuck out of here, guys. Thank you very much. This is the Lineman Lounge. Sleeves are optional. It's been fun trying to knock this out. A couple little weird things are going to happen in the episode. Sorry, but at this point, I'm so fucking tired. I don't give a shit. You're just going to deal with the cuts.
Yep. Check us out on our socials. Hit us up in the mailbag, linemanlounge@gmail.com. And we will get back to you on Saturday, hopefully a little more rested, and hopefully
with a couple of dubs in our back pocket from our own teams on that day as well.
Yep. Both got flag games that day. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Saturday.
See you.